All right, I am here at DakuCon with.
Michael Husky.
All right, and you are one of the few mangakas here right now, both the author and artist, correct?
Yes, both the author and the artist of Fade to Black. Published by B4 Manga.
How was the process going from like getting the idea to paper?
Oh, the process of that. The biggest one is obviously coming up with the story. My biggest thing I would say is for anybody who's looking into like getting into that is first figure out your base plot of your story down. You don't need to know everything. My starting point, I found the easiest was starting from like how I want my story to end, and I worked backwards on that one, like so I could kind of focus that. But it was a long process, years of practice in the artwork and just writing the story, and the story's still developing as I go. I'm still changing things.
And so I could tell that it's really inspired from a couple different mangas. Like I could see it being inspired almost from like One Piece and some of the character design. I don't know if or not One Piece, Death Note, with to an extent, like or some of it like similar like Soul Eater, like some of your demon hunty ones, because it is a demon hunting manga, right?
Yes, it's the primary story is that they are hunting demons in the modern world, and yes, there's inspiration from like Bleach, D. Grayman, and like Blue Exorcist, and stories like that. I was heavily inspired by those when I was growing up from the big three. One Piece, there's the inspiration of like from Goda about like how he does storytelling, on his paneling. So there's definitely those things involved there. But I also like my inspiration goes back from like to also like Spawn, from Image Comics, Darkness, Angelus, and stuff like that.
No, I did read the first volume last night, just to kind of get an idea, and it's a really good hook of a volume in my opinion. But I know for a lot of people like used to manga, having it set in the States. How did you determine, like, besides growing up here, how did you determine where your location would be?
So I did jump around on that idea. It's like if I wanted to build it in like an alternate universe, to if I wanted to use more of a modern setting. I chose the modern setting because it felt more comfortable, and it kind of helped to me make it more relatable to people living in the States. Is normally stories are like in like Japan, like Japanese stories like Bleach and Blue Exorcist, they take place within Japan, themselves, and a lot of times creators do tend to pick like their home city as their starting off point. For me, I ultimately settled on Denver, Colorado, where I grew up, and decided to like branch out from there to the world. So.
And your main character, Shin. I wasn't sure if it was going to be Sheen or Shin. He just your standard high school kid, and then thrust into this other world that's just another section of our world.
Yeah.
How do you have him as the POV character? Like your thoughts on like how he kind of starts viewing things differently.
So without giving away too much spoiler on it, Shin is is your average high schooler. At the time in the story, he's kind of going like that through his rebellious phase, where he's ditching school, just kind of like not caring. He has no motivation, and then he gets, like you said, he gets thrusted into this world out of nowhere. He encounters a character who and a demon for the first time, and then and from his point of view is like. His worldview does change because all of a sudden it gets expanded. He learns about this huge secret society that's been going on that he apparently is a part of, And like I said, without getting into too much spoilers, because in issue 3 or chapter 2 that's online, we get more into like where does like his parents come into this, and like how he is involved in that. Why does he have these powers?
With it being set in Colorado, how do you kind of like use the surroundings beyond just it being as a backdrop, like the native area, to inspire parts of the story rather than just it being a backdrop?
So Colorado, the story, is like supernatural, based within like the realm of like hunting demons. That also means it involves a lot of spirituality. And in Colorado, we actually have a lot of haunted areas, like so like Denver East High is well known for like being a haunted high school. You have like the old governor's building stuff. So I kind of bring in like areas in Colorado I know that tend to like be like spooky or have like these myths around them about like monsters or demons or people have seen sightings. So I bring that in to that.
Yeah, so at least without it being too much spoilers, are you going to include any like American cryptids or myths into it?
Oh yeah. So without giving too much spoiler, I actually import a lot of cultures and myths into it. The biggest inspiration for my story was my love for mythology, religion, and like supernatural in the supernatural. And so I was like one day I was like out of all my studies in religion and stuff, I was like, everything seems to have like a lot of connections. So I built my own myth around it that includes so much. And yes, there's like, I bring in Wendigos and stuff like that into the story, from American, like Native American legend.
And then I did notice too that it doesn't read like a typical manga, mostly because it's left to right, not right to left. How did you determine how your layout was going to be?
So when my layouts, I kind of like go through and I play around with. I try to mix between like a Japanese type layout, like from Japanese manga, and comic layouts. I chose the reading the Western reading style for the comic to be able to also get more American comic readers also in the story, not just manga readers. So that was kind of like a gamble there. On that one, but my choice of layouts is I go through and I play it out in my head over and over, and I choose which panels, which frames, which cuts I want the most in it, and then I just kind of play with the layouts until I figure out, like, I'll draw multiple pages and iterations of layouts until I figure out which one I like the most. That's kind of an interesting question right there to.
Then, other than Fade to Black, do you have any other work out right now? Excuse me. Other than Fade to Black, do you have any other work out right now?
I do. Eating the Dead, which is actually a light novel series, and it's also online on beformanga.com as well. This is a story that is about a brother who takes his sister out of the safe after it's let me start that over. The story takes place 5 years after the zombie apocalypse happens, and after living in a bunker, the sister becomes ill and sick with a common curable disease, but because they can't do it, they can't heal her or save her. The leaders of the bunker decide that they want to euthanize her, and the brother just is not okay with that. Sneaks her out of the bunker and into the world of the dead in hopes of finding a cure. And
so your work is just all around just inspired by the supernatural, the hauntings, all the fun dark stuff that we all love.
Yeah, I've always been a huge fan of the supernatural. It's kind of funny that I love the supernatural stuff, but I don't like watching ghost stories because they creep me out. But I also am a firm believer of ghosts and supernatural.
You live in a fun little dichotomy with it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Sorry. All right. So where can we find your content and what you do?
You can find us everything on beformanga.com mostly, and you can also find us on social media from all through B4Manga, and that is B as in like boy, and then the number 4, and then manga spelled out right there. Right here. Oh, right here. Yeah. You can just go to beformanga.com, and you could read both Fade to Black and Even the Dead online. And you can also follow us on social media, where you can find us also under B4Manga from Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and soon we're working on getting our TikTok going, and I think we're going to be setting up a Blue Skies as well.
Nice. I'll make sure to put everything in the description once I go through. And then, do you have anything you'd like to end on?
What I like to end on is I do. I hope people can read the story and be honest with me. Tell me what you think of it. On the comments. good or bad. I just, I want to hear people's feedback, on the story, and I hope you enjoy it on there, and and hope to watch, Beef for Manga grow, because we're trying to start a publishing company in Colorado that's for the United States, that's going to help other people publish their mangas and their light novels, in a Western style format, because there's a lot of people who've been inspired by manga and by anime and manga from Japan, but they just don't have much of an outlet to publish it.
Awesome, and thank you so much for your time today. It's been a pleasure reading so far. Haven't read Volume 2 yet, but I will be probably doing that soon. I'm excited for Volume 3 already. And thank you again so much.
Thank you.
I want to say thank you for supporting my content by watching the video, as well as supporting other local small artists and creators around, especially in the convention space and cosplay community. If you'll check out Fade to Black in the description below, I will provide all the links, as well as if you'd like to see me at future conventions to do more of this, you can visit my Patreon or website, which will also be linked, as well as any of my past content. Just feel free and check that out. Hope to see you at a future convention.